And the microphone.
I've gone live yet on that screen.
Sorry guys. Good afternoon everybody. My name is Mark. I'm here at the UK Chocolate Academy. You've seen a lot of our Instagram and Facebook messages about this temporary demo. We've done lots of other demos before Christmas. So if you want to have a look at those as well, go back onto our Instagram page or our Facebook page, and then you can go back and sign in, and you can see other ones that we've done on just different Christmas decorations, things like that. But obviously things you can use, sort of like techniques and that all year round. The Instagram page is Chocolate Academy UK, so go on there and you can see all our live things that we've done, that you can rewatch them anyway. We've got another one coming up in a week's time, so next Friday we've got Valentine's one. I'll be doing Valentine's one, so we're looking at cocoa butters, looking at sort of a piñata and a couple of ganaches and things like that. And we've got loads more coming up as well on ganaches and more vegan, different demos and things like that. So yeah, please tune in, and you'll see on them on our Instagram and our Facebook page. So tune in and sign up for those. So we'd like to apologise for last week. Is it last week, Natasha, I think? So Natasha's here with us, controlling all the cameras. Say hi, Natasha.
Hello, everyone.
So Natasha will be taking any messages you want to put onto the YouTube messaging board, and we've got other people from our amazing academy here that can answer lots of your questions as well. I'll be here as well, so if we get time, I'll answer some questions live as well. But we've got quite a lot to get through on this temporary. Last time, like I was saying, we had problems with our electricity to cancel the live went out. So hopefully everybody got their emails and messages and stuff like that. It's great for you to be back now with us to watch this demo. So, temporary. A lot of people have problems with temporary, and they always ask us, I have this problem and that problem, all sorts of different problems. And it could be all different types of things, like obviously temperature of your chocolate, your room temperature, your fridge temperature, things like that. So we'll try and go through as much as we can today, okay? But it's going to be a little bit impossible to go through everything. That's why we do courses here at the UK Academy. So if you're interested, hopefully by the end of this year, we'll be starting our classes again. So come along and go into more depth on those different subjects and all the different tempering methods as well. So I'm going to show you today microwave tempering, which obviously we use the microwave, but I'm going to show you other techniques which you can use with the barrier as well. So it's very, very similar. It's more the melting part is the process. It's very similar between boundary and the microwave. Seeding method, I'm going to use a tempering tank here. I'm going to show you another way using a powdered cocoa butter called Mycryo, and another version as well using sort of a cocoa butter paste in a sense as well. I'll show you that one as well. Okay. So we can start with microwave tempering. Now, we have a lot of emails with people saying, oh, my boss or my friend says you can't use the microwave to temper chocolate. Absolutely rubbish. Of course you can use the microwave to temper chocolate. Now, it's very easy. Obviously, all microwaves are very different as well. They have different power levels. So you've got to know how your microwave works. It's best to keep it on full power, but some people I know do works. Get to know how your microwave works with your chocolate. Because what you don't want to do is put it into the microwave and then within 20 seconds it will burn. And I've worked with lots of different microwaves and lots of different studios around the country, and sometimes it can burn after 20 seconds, sometimes it can take a minute and it's still not melted. Okay, so just bear with your microwave and obviously make sure that you can know how to control it. Okay, so in a microwave I never use a glass bowl or like Pyrex, things like that. I always use a good sturdy plastic bowl. If we use a glass bowl, what can that do is it can raise the temperature very quickly. That glass is a good sturdy plastic bowl. So in my bowl here, before I put it into the microwave, I've just got an amount of chocolate. I haven't weighed this or anything like that. Okay, so it's just an amount, probably a good kilo and a bit in there. Okay, but I don't need to know the measurements. So into my microwave. I'm going to pop it on for a minute, but I'm probably going to do about 30 seconds. I'm going to bring it up very slowly in temperature. Okay, so I'm only going to bring it up to the working temperature of the dark chocolate here, which the dark chocolate is around 31, 32 degrees. Okay, so all I'm doing is controlling the chocolate from the state it's in now, bringing it up to that working temperature. It's a little bit like, it's a very easy way of tempering. If you want to temper just a tiny bit of chocolate, happened. Okay, so it's nothing's melted, nothing's changed. Okay, but I can feel that it's starting to get a little bit warm. Okay, but it's important to give it a good shake. What you don't want to do is if there is a lump inside that's starting to melt and you don't stir that in, it's going to get hotter, it's just going to burn. Okay, so it's really key to move it. We always say when tempering chocolate, you need time, movement, and temperature. That's the key 3 words of tempering chocolate. So time to do it, the movement of the chocolate, because the movement's going to create that beatified crystal that we're trying to create to get that nice shine and that nice snap. And obviously temperature is part of that, so that's really, really key. Okay? So another 30 seconds, and then we'll have another quick look. 1. Okay. So I can feel it getting a little bit hotter in there now. But again, I can okay, hang it in there with a spatula or a spoon and just check. You can tell, that's good. So back in again. On. And another 30 seconds. If it was starting to melt too much, I would slow it down a bit. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to melt it up to that 31, 32 degrees. Okay. Just while I'm waiting for that, just to talk a little bit about equipment as well, okay? So we have 2 types of thermometers. So you have the infrared thermometers, okay? And then you have the more thermometers with the leads and the probe, okay? I'm just going to keep an eye on this. I'll just shut that off for 2 seconds. So a lot of people use both of these, okay? And for me personally, I prefer the probe one, okay? I think you get such a better reading from the probe. Sorry, from the electric one than you do obviously with the infrared one. Okay, that's just a personal thing. I do know people that still use this, but for me, I've never got sort of like the hang of it, and it always takes the temperature reading of the actual top of the chocolate. And if you point this on more of an angle, you tend to get a different reading than you do more direct into it. Okay, so for me, it's not so good. So I prefer these sort of probing ones. Okay, so I can get the thermometer right into the chocolate and I know exactly what temperature. Okay, so you've seen that starting to stick together, sort of little lumps in there. So I am going to start stirring it now because on the bottom it tends to start to stick more and become a lot more lumpy. Okay. And then we go straight back in. So that was 30 seconds, and go for another 30 seconds. Another piece of equipment as well is the heat gun. Use sort of these ones which are more sort of craft guns. You can use hair dryers as well, which are really good. But with a hair dryer, just be careful because the blow can start blowing, flicking out the chocolate from your bowl. Okay, so just be careful. So one of these would be better. Obviously, they are slightly different in power. Okay, so these ones are a lot hotter. Okay, so just be aware of that when you're using it. Okay, so now it's going to start changing very quickly. So you see it's a lot more lumpy, okay, and a lot more sticky. But it's really key to give that a good stir. Like I said before, movement. It's about the movement in the chocolate. So now I've got to be really careful because if I go probably another 30 seconds, okay, I could go too high with the chocolate. Okay, so I'm going to go back in, same power again. I'm just going to get just a tiny bit less. Right. Put that on. So maybe give it 15, 20 seconds. Okay, start to slow it down slightly. You don't want to go higher than your 31, 32 degrees. Okay, let's just try that. So you can see now how it starts to melt very quickly in a very short amount of time in the microwave. So I'm just going to take a scraper and scrape off. You tend to get a lot on the actual spoon as well. Okay, so you can see it's still quite lumpy, okay, and still quite thick, all right? I don't really want to go back in the microwave. I want to control it now myself by using my heat gun, okay? Because it's very key that you put it back in there maybe 5 seconds, and that is just going to go out to temper. So by using a heat gun, I've got a little bit more everything inside, but with the heat gun, it's just melting the top. At any stage, I can take the temperature, or I can pop in my probe and just see what that temperature is. You see, it's still very thick, okay, but it's mostly melted now. So I'm just going to take my thermometer out of the way and give it a little bit more heat. Okay, so just a little bit of heat. And then a little stir. And a little bit more heat. Okay, so it's doing it nice and slowly. Let's just grab a spatula and get all that chocolate down. And get it all the right temperature. Okay, so again, now at any point you can see how this actually sets. Okay, so I have a little tub here with some just bits of greaseproof paper, so you can always do like little tests of it. But I know at the moment, just by looking at it, I don't even need to use my thermometer. It's so thick, I know I need a lot more heat to it. But again, I'm doing it slowly, just bring it up. Right then. Okay, so remember, short little bursts. Okay, so I'm going to give it a little test now. So just flop it off. Then we can put it on our workspace there and see how that sets. So we want to sort of like see that setting within sort of like a minute to 2 minutes, going from a very wet look to more. So just wait a couple of seconds, see how it's going. If it does it very, very quickly, then I can give it some more heat, okay? And then I can give it another test. It's all about testing it. Make sure you test it all the time when you're starting out, or if you haven't done it so many times in the microwave or a different way, always try it and learn that technique first. So I can see it's drying. Hopefully you can pick that up. See whether I've angled it there a little bit. It starts to dry very quickly on that top edge there. So I actually can get a little bit more temperature. So again, just a little bit. Now, if you're using the larger heat gun, it's even less time, okay? Because this one is a little bit less powerful. So when you start changing equipment or changing microwave, it can always be slightly different. Okay, so you can see this one now is really set. Okay, so it's gone sort of very matte. This one's now a lot more liquid. So I'm going to test it again. I can see it's a lot finer on the actual piece of greaseproof as well, which is a good sign. And then we can just check that one. So just to recap this one again, guys, so we're just literally slowly bringing it up in temperature to the working temperature of the chocolate. Okay, so we can use all the different types of chocolate, so obviously white milk, Calabo here, we have the ruby and the gold chocolate as well. So you can always just bring it up to the working temperature. So 29, 30, the same as the white. But your ruby is roughly about 29.5 to 30.5. Okay, so it's very close to the milk chocolate. So I have done it to the milk chocolate temperature before, it's been fine as well. Okay, so you can see that this is now starting to set. It's taking a little bit longer to set, okay, which is good, but it's got a nice shine to it and basically ready to go. Okay, so that was the microwave sort of method. Okay, another method that we can do, let me just pop this away, is we can do, that's the microwave method. You can't do that microwave method on a bain-marie. Okay, I've just got a bain-marie here to show. I'm not going to do this method. I don't like to do this method because it tends to have a lot of steam and that can cause a lot of humidity in my room when I'm working. So I know all of you don't have a microwave, so yes, you can do it on a bain-marie. But the seeding method, which I'm going to show you now, you can do the seeding method in a bain-marie, you can do it in the microwave, and you also can do it in one of these holding tanks as well. I'm going to show you the holding tank, but I've just explained to begin with how to get to the same stage as the holding tank. So it's basically just the melting part. So in a microwave, I would melt my chocolate to 45 degrees. Again, just like I showed you, slowly melt it, in, out, slowly melting it. Okay, bringing it up to 45 degrees. Okay, you use the thermometer to check that. With a bain-marie, exactly the same. Put the amount of chocolate you want into your bowl, a little bit of water, okay, put it on the stove. Just bring it up gently. We don't want rapid boiling because it's going to bubble all out the side. It could come into your chocolate and that's going to ruin your chocolate. And obviously you don't want it to be really humid in your workspace as well, okay? Bring that up to 45 degrees. Once you've done that, the only difference between this and the microwave is I want to transfer this one to a plastic bowl. So when you transfer, the most important thing is you're going to have a lot of condensation in your bowl. So give it a good wipe off with a clean towel, then transfer this into a plastic bowl. Okay, and then you've basically got the same as the microwave method. So you've got basically all your chocolate in here, melted at 45 degrees. Same with the microwave, melted at 45 degrees. Okay, let's just put this down. So we're going to do it in a tank because a lot of people have this tank or are interested in these tanks. So I wanted to show you one of these as well. Try and move it in a bit more central. If I can. Stuck in here. There we go. A continuous flow tempering machine. Okay, like a Selmy, like a Gammy, things like that. Okay, so this is not, you still have to temper in it. Okay, but with this one, what we can do is, like I've done here, I've put my chocolate in my tank overnight on 45 degrees. You can see, I'll show you the front. You can see we've got this dial on here in degrees. Okay. Now, I'm sorry for the guys that obviously live in other countries that use Fahrenheit. I have put Fahrenheit on the recipes, on the temperature recipe, but being from the UK, we're using Celsius, and I don't really know those Fahrenheit off by heart. Okay, so excuse me for that. I'm just using Celsius today. Okay, so 45 degrees melted in my tank. So it's exactly the same as your primary method of melting to 45 degrees, and your microwave melting to 45 degrees. Okay. So what we've got here is we've got chocolate with no, what we call the beta 5 crystals, the crystal that we need to have to give us that nice shine and a nice snap. Okay? I'm going to show you when I do this method, the difference in a quick stir, just so its temperature's more even. So again, making sure you stir it. Remember, time, movement, temperature. Okay? Taking a little bit of paper. Obviously, you can see it very, very thin. Give it a little flip off. I'm going to pop that on the tray there, okay? It's not quite in the shot. I'm going to move that now. There you go, that's better. Ah, that's good. Perfect tray to achieve. So you can see, obviously, that's really wet and sticky. This will not dry. It will eventually dry, but it's not going to dry for a good half hour, okay, to an hour. Okay, and then we're going to see all sorts of problems, which I'm going to come to sort of a bit later. So we know that this is not tempered. Okay, because remember when I said like a minute sort of to be set, this is not going to set, and you're going to see the stages. So it makes more sense when I go through. So the good thing with these tanks is different to when we did it in the bowl. Let me just see how this is coming on now. You can see this now. I'll put it over the top there. Okay, you see how thick that is. Okay, so this is over crystallization to the chocolate now. So if I try to work with this, I'm going to have all sorts of problems. Okay, you're going to have blooming and have air bubbles everywhere. I can bring this back though. Okay, I can bring this back. I'm going to put this little sign on it so you can sort of keep a track of what I'm doing. So this microwave, and this is the seeding. Okay, so people, you understand. So I can bring this back. If it was completely solid, okay, start again. So do the whole process again, from the beginning. With this, I went to, easily, I just need to heat it up again. So again, we can just heat it up, bring it up to that 32 degrees, but I'm not going to do it all now because obviously it's too much to fit in. Okay, but just bring it up. Test it again when you think it's going to set in your room environment. The ideal room environment is about 2 degrees, okay? And you're looking for about 50 to 70% humidity in the room. Okay, if you have all these factors and they're all working really well, then you're going to have a lot better quality of product. Okay, so test it, see what it's done. You can bring it back. You can always bring it back with the heat gun. Don't put it back in the microwave; it's going to be way too strong for it. Just bring it back with the heat gun. Okay, so now I'm going to turn down my dial. You saw the dial earlier on. I'm going to turn it down just above the 30 degrees on here, because you were looking for, with the dark chocolate, 31, 32 degrees. Okay? Now, I need to manipulate this, and again, movement, to create my crystals. And that I can do, which obviously we're calling a seeding method, with other tempered chocolate. Okay, so we've got more calories here. So this is the same chocolate I'm using here. And we're going to add this to create those crystals. Now, a lot of you tell me, and a lot of you say, oh, but Mark, I see on the packets where it says I've got to bring it down to 27, and then I've got to bring it back up to the working temperature. Okay, so what I can do is, say I have a bowl of hot chocolate, 45 degrees, I can stir this and cool this down to 27 degrees. A little bit like the marble slab method. Okay, I'm not going to show that today, the marble slab, because it makes a heck of a mess everywhere. Okay. So 45 degrees, and then what I do is I bring out nothing, just in the bowl, to around about 27 degrees. And you'll see it get very, very thick, like you saw with that first one. Okay? That's creating the crystals for me. I'm creating all those beta 5 crystals. Okay? But it's going to be too many, but I've created enough there. And then all I do is use my heat gun and I bring it back up to that working temperature, to 31, 32 degrees. Okay, so that will soften the chocolate, you'll get it a lot smoother. Again, still test it with little bits of paper. Okay, really important little bits of paper. You can use colour marks and things like that. Paper is just as good. And then you just bring it back up to the working temperature with the heat gun. Again, don't go back into Mycryo. For me, it's too powerful. Use your heat gun to bring it back up. Okay. So with this method, also I need this. I don't mind the way. So I'll turn down the machine, and now I can start adding. So I add just a little handful again. I probably got in here about kilo, 2 kilos of chocolate in my tank. So it's always good to have a good amount of chocolate on the side. You can see this one is still not set. Let me just flip that up. See it's still wet. Okay, that should have started to set now if it was tempered. And I can see in my tank that these cullets I've just put in are melting very, very quickly. Okay. Now, if you do have very big tanks, this is a very small amount of chocolate in one of these tanks. I do have one here. I tend to use a hand blender. Okay, you can hand blend it because it's very tough trying to stir and stuff like that. So a hand blender is really good. So hand blend in the cullets when you do that in a very large tank, or obviously even this one, if it was a bit more full up, I would use that. So a little bit more. You see, I've just added a little bit more chocolate into it. Just keep going. So like I said, tempered chocolate, it looks very rough and, it's not shiny or anything like that. Well, it's not, because it's been in a bag and it's been had movement by, from the company that you're buying it from. It's been moved around and things like that, and you're moving it around the kitchen stuff. So it's almost like bruising it slightly, but it's not doing anything to the actual chocolate. Okay, so that's still very quick. That's melting down. So I'm going to add some more chocolate. If I had a larger tank, I'd add bigger amounts of chocolate, with my hand, bigger amounts. Okay, like I said, this is a small amount. So it doesn't matter knowing the exact amount of chocolate you have here and the exact amount of chocolate you have there. Okay? Roughly about a third, really, you want from your tank here. Right, I'm going to do another little test, because I like to show you these tests. Okay, so I'm going to take another little test and put that alongside that one. And this first time, try these tests. It's really, really important to sort of know how the chocolate is working and how the crystals are forming in your chocolate. Okay. So keep going. So now I can speed it now, thickening up. So I'm going to give it, and then just give it a little probe and see how we're doing. But I can definitely feel a difference, because obviously you will. Okay, so we're still around about 38 degrees, so I've still got bits coming down. So another handful. Some people say to me, "Oh, Mark, I've added enough chocolate, it's been perfect, the amount I've added." And that's really good, because you've obviously just calculated that just right, okay? But sometimes that's always going to happen, that, okay? So just be careful. And the best thing with tempering chocolate is practice. The more you practice, the better the temper will be, and the more confident you'll be as well in the tempering. Okay. Now, just to talk a little bit while this is melting down at fridge temperature, so you've got temperatures to set. We're talking at sort of between 10 and 15 degrees. I know it's very sort of broad, that temperature, okay, but you've got to sort of look. It's not. We roughly go about 13 degrees with our fridges, our chocolate fridges. But another place, I know other people that might go 15 degrees or slightly cooler than that. Okay, so it's all depending on your fridge that you've got, your environment you're working in. Okay, so this is always parameters. Okay, and you want to be lower than 50% humidity in your fridge as well. Okay. So we can see on the sheet still nothing's happened with this the first one. Nothing's happening with the second one. But all that's now started to melt down. I'm going to add another bit. And keep going. Now, it doesn't matter if you add too much. If you add too much, we're going to use the heat gun to bring it back up again, a little bit like we did with the microwave tempering. We can bring it back up, and this is the same if you do it in the bain-marie or the microwave method, the seeding method. We can always bring it back up again. Okay, so let me give it a still. If you have a quick, you can see the colours are still there, but they're getting a lot smaller still. Definitely feeling it thickening up, which is good. So let's give it another little test. There. Now, obviously, doing this, you're going to create air bubbles in your chocolate. But if you tune in next week, so when I do the Valentine's one, I'm going to show you how to get rid of air bubbles in molds and things like that, all to do with tapping and things like that. Okay, so don't worry too much. It's more about getting your tempering right. If you want to make sure there's no air bubbles in your chocolate, to eliminate that completely, then obviously you're looking at the Selmy machines, to make sure it's flowed really nicely and there's no air bubbles in that. Now, a lot of people say, oh, Mark, this is taking a long time to temper. Okay, but unfortunately, time is one of the things that we need. Remember what I said, time, movement, temperature.
We need that printed on a t-shirt.
I know, maybe I should get some t-shirts printed. TMT.
Your initials.
Yeah, sort of. So I hope all of you are well. This pandemic on, that's why we've done a lot of these free classes. Keep everybody sort of like occupy these times and have a little go at some different skills as well. So like I said, please look back at the ones we've already done. Some of them are based on Christmas, but obviously the techniques are there as well that you can do already. And then remember, we've got the Valentine's one next week, so that's February the 5th, around about the same time, I think. Okay, so we're doing some nice Valentine's stuff there. Okay, so I'm going to do another little test. We'll have a little test. You can see. It might seem silly doing all this test, but you'll get to learn how it's working, and you'll learn the consistency that it's going to be and things like that. Okay. So keep going. This is when I said the hand blend is really good, because you can just move it around and it's actually the blades that are doing the movement. Okay, you still got to move it around, but it does save a lot on your hands. But because I've got very little in this tank here, it won't pick it up with a blender. Okay, so still melting down. I'm going to do another little test. Another little test. See how it's going. As soon as I see something on these tests, I shall show you. Okay, I'm not going to leave you. Right. So I'm going to add a bit more. Even those ones I did beforehand, they should have started to set by now. So keep mixing that around. But like I said before, if there's colour still left in there and I see it setting well on the paper, I don't, I just need to heat it up again. But any time you do that, just always test it again before you work with it. Okay, it's really, really key that you work with it. I'm going to show you now, while I just wait for that, I want to show you There's a little examples for you on the tempering. Let me see if I can get all those in a shot like that. Okay, so this is all the stages. So this is 45 degrees. So these are solid chocolate bars, okay? So a little bit different to the paper. These are solid chocolate bars. You can see the stages are going down, the crystal stages, before you get to the 31, 32 degrees here. Okay, so that's what's going to be like in your stages. Okay, so that's really important to see that. If you see any of this and you know that you haven't got it just right. So back to the chocolate. Okay, so I can feel it getting a lot thicker, like I keep saying, okay, but it's definitely getting thicker now. And these callets in here are taking a lot longer now to actually break down. Okay. Running out of room on here, so I'm just going to pop it here. I'm just a bit wary of the tide, guys, so I'm going to start the next one off, and this is going to be the Mycryo method. So this is the tempering with cocoa butter. So we have cocoa butter powder, which I have here, and it's basically 1% what I have in here, okay? So I've got 500 grams in here, and I've got 5 grams of my Mycryo. The other thing you can use as well is one of these easy temperers. Okay, so basically what's in here is a little jar of callets. But it's more of a paste. Okay, it's because I've controlled the temperature. So I'm roughly about 30, what was I today? About 33.5 degrees in here. Okay, and I just left it on overnight. You do have to adjust that between 30 and 35 degrees to get the right consistency of paste. Okay, but again, I'd use 1% of this into my chocolate. So I'm going to do the powdered method, but it's exactly the same way, and I'll explain that when I add this one as well. Let me just pop this back down. Oh, we got some things happening on here on the table, so. I'm going to start this one off, the 500 grams. I'm going to give it 30 seconds. Hopefully I can do two at the same time. But I can see things happening here. Right, let's get this in. Okay, so you can see this is the first one. Oh, sorry, I'm the wrong way around. This is the first ones I did, but you can see these 3 here haven't set. These ones are starting to set. You see all this streaking and this line. So that was the second to last one, that was the last one I did, starting to set. The one that I've just done has set, but it's still a bit streaky there, okay? So I need, it's a little bit longer on there, but don't worry. And that's when I said, I've still got a lot of pallets in the end, they don't seem to be moving, they don't seem to be doing much. But let me just give it still stir, because there might still be some initial temperature in there to melt the rest of those pallets down. Just going to go back to this one. Give it a shake. You'll see I'm reading 33.5 degrees, 0.6. 0.7, so let's just keep that there. But there's still pellets in there, so hopefully they will melt down. So I'm going to hold this and hold that. Okay, so it seems to be stable at 31.8 degrees. Okay, which is good. Just gone up 1 degree there. But that's good. Now I'm just going to check, see if I've got any more pellets. Okay, I've started that one off, but I'll come back to that because this isn't nearly done. Okay, it's all melted, so I'm going to give it another test. Another test. So in, let's just pop that there. Okay. So now I'm looking within that sort of like that minute to be set. And then I know that I'm ready. So that's the seeding method. So let me just recap the seeding method. So we can melt the chocolate in the microwave in a plastic bowl and bring it up to 45 degrees. I can melt it in the bain-marie, very little power underneath. We don't want it bubbling away, the water just on simmer. And we just want to melt that chocolate to 45 degrees. You're going to, with the bain-marie method, you're going to take it out of the bowl, okay, because you've got to use a glass or a metal bowl for the heating part, then transfer it to a plastic bowl. Remember to wipe the bottom of the bowl, then pour it into your plastic bowl. Then you've got both your bowls, okay, are both 45 degrees, and they're both in the plastic bowl. Then we can start the seeding method, okay, by adding pellets to the bowl. Okay, same with the tank here. I turn this temperature down on here because I can control the temperature. So the temperature that's going to be in the bowls, if I did the seeding method, are going to cool down a lot quicker because there's no elements around the side. So when you do that, make sure that you have everything ready before you start with your tempering. Because you don't want to temper your chocolate, put that on the side, put a fried egg, something like that. Okay? But everything's ready, you turn the phone on, then you can temper your chocolate and then go with it straight away. Okay? This will hold the chocolate at that temperature for longer. Okay, so it's just really, really good, and that's what we're looking for. Okay? Just go back to this one. It's now set. I have a nice shine on that. You can see the air bubbles a little bit in there, but it's better than if I pick that one up there. Oh, that one up there. You see all those streaky lines on here. Okay, you can see the fat bloom, and obviously we've got a nice chocolate there. These ones are still not set. Look how floppy that still is. If I touch it, it feels cold. Okay, but there's no structure. There's none of that beta 5 crystal in there to give us that nice shine to our chocolates. But now, because I've got this in my tank, this will hold the temperature for me for a lot longer than the other. Okay. Now, the only thing with tanks is because there's no elements on the top, it's going to start to harden if you don't use it for like an hour and things like that. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to stir it and heat it with a heat gun to bring it back up to temperature. Test it with the paper again before you do anything with it, just to make sure. Okay, if you've overheated it, okay, took it out of temper, then you need to add some more chocolate to back and seed it again. Okay. So I'm just going to push this to the side, and then we go back to this one. There, and we've got 5 grams of the Mycryo. This is the Mycryo, sorry, that's my bain-marie now. This is my Mycryo. Okay, this is the caliber Mycryo, caliber cocoa butter. We are out of stock of this at the moment, okay, but it is coming back, so keep an eye out for it. It's really good. You can cook fish and meat with it as well. It's really good oil. So that's the Mycryo. So I'm giving it a little bit of heat. So giving it a stir. Back in. So, like I said before, I'm bringing this up to 45 degrees. So I need my thermometer for this. I'm just going to get a bit clean off the other chocolate. So lots of people say lots of different things. You know, this is how I do it. This is how we do it here at the academy. Okay. But some people say, oh, I take it a little bit hotter than that. And actually, sometimes with white chocolate, 28, 29 degrees, sometimes we work a lot hotter than that. You know, another degree higher throughout the day when we've got a process of keep going all day. It starts to set a little bit more. So sometimes we adjust the temperatures to what we need in our work. Roughly 50 degrees percent humidity. Okay. So let's just take a reading on this. Make sure I'm up. We can start from a clean process. So I'll get the orange shot. So we're a little bit more to go. It won't need long, guys. Just a little bit longer. Let's get it nice and fluid. When you start getting higher in the temperature, okay, it doesn't take long to come up a lot quicker, very quickly. That makes any sense? Okay, so that was 37 degrees we're at then, okay? So now, just those few seconds, I'm now touching 40 degrees, okay? So in between 40 and 45 degrees. Now I know I said 45 degrees, but it can be, as long as it's over 40. I'm going to take it just a little bit more, just slightly under, just so I can get the nice fluidity. It won't need long. How much? What about 3-4 seconds? And then let's just test it. Yeah, so I'm just over 40 degrees now. It's about 43 degrees. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to keep that just as it is. Now, for this method of tempering, we've got our Mycryo here. So this is our beta 5 crystal that we're going to add to this. If I add it to it like it is now, okay, it's going to kill the crystals off because it's too hot. I know when we did the seeding method, we added it straight away, but in the seeding method, we've got cocoa butter in the cullets. Okay, so it's been protected by the other ingredients that are there. Okay, with this, we've got nothing to protect those beta 5 crystals. Okay, so if I add it now, it's just going to kill them off. So what I do is I reduce this in temperature, just naturally, to around about 34 to 35, degrees. Then I can add my Mycryo. That will melt it, but it's not as harsh to obviously destroy the crystals. It then can produce the crystals in the chocolate. And that's the same method if I was going to add my paste. I'd add my paste, okay, my 1% at the same time, okay. I can't add cullets into it because it's just not going to melt them down, okay, 5 degrees. And here I've got a paste that's going to mix in at that temperature very easily. This one I did have it as cullets, but I left it overnight to get my paste, okay. Now, you don't have to buy a massive machine like this. You can do it just in a small bowl in the microwave. But again, you're sort of like almost sort of tempering it by very slowly, because if you go too far, then you've got to wait for it to come down in temperature. This is really important to have the right temperature for this Okay, so I'm going to use the thermometer a little bit more to bring down the temperature. So keep a little check now and again. We'll just keep the thermometer there. It's quite easy to just go away from it and obviously just leave it. What you'll find is around the bottom here, it's going to start to set, especially if you're working on marble. And obviously on the top, it's going to start to set with the room temperature. So you're going to have it very thick around the sides on the top, and it's going to be very fluid in the middle. And once you mix it together, then you're going to be too cold, okay? And it does need this movement. I believe you have a question.
Could you just ask if you could?
Right. So this is the Mycryo. Okay, so this is the powdered cocoa butter. So this is the pack that we get it in. Okay, you see a big steak on there. Okay, because you can use it for cooking as well. Okay, which is really good for that. So you pack your steak. We're not going to go into cooking now. We're going to continue on to 3. But we can use it to temper our chocolate as well. Okay, so that's the Mycryo. Remember, I said it's out of stock at the moment, but it's coming back. It's coming back, so look out for it. This is the Mycryo, so it's a powder form. And just to recap on the temperature, so I brought it to sort of between 40 and 45 degrees. I'm cooling it down now to around about 34, 35 degrees. Then I'm going to add my powder. And you can't just add the cullets of cocoa butter because they're too thick and they won't melt down. So it has to be powder-based, okay? Well, like I said before, I've got my paste there. Okay, so I can add my 1% of my paste to it, and that's what will form my crystals. I can't just add melted cocoa butter to it because there's no crystals in the melted cocoa butter. You would have killed them all off. So we're at 35 degrees, just above 35 degrees. So I'm just going to pull this out for a sec. I'm just going to wash my hands. How's the chat going today, Natasha?
Absolutely wild.
Is it? Lots of questions. Well, I hope I'm answering, or I hope you guys are answering them as well. Is everything good?
Yeah, also Claire and Julie are on it. They're answering everybody's questions.
Okay.
So we're all good there.
That's cool. Like I said, guys, it's about practicing your environment. You know, I know we've got some people here from very hot countries. That's going to be very different. You know, similar basis of tempering, but it's going to be very different for you environmentally wise as well as community. We're very lucky here in our academy. You know, we have dehumidifiers built into the building. Let me just check. You can see here we're on 25.5 degrees with a 41% humidity. So that's really good. That's what we love. Okay. But I know not everybody's going to have that. So, you know, just be careful. Yeah.
I have a direct question for you. What tempering method do you prefer out of all of them?
Good question. Personally, I'm not a fan of the bain-marie. And I know everybody's going to say now, I don't have a microwave at home, so I have to use the bain-marie. So I tell you this, guys, I don't even have a microwave at home. So when I'm at home, I have to do the bain-marie method. Okay, unless I take what it's saying, which sometimes I forget. Okay, so I have known to do it in the bain-marie. It's okay, just be careful of that boiling point. Personally, I love to use the Selmies because I can just press a few buttons and it comes out tempered. And I can do 100 more things while that's tempering itself and then come back to it. But if I have to go to one of the ones I've done today, it's difficult really, to be honest. I love the sealing method. I find that's a little bit quicker maybe. If I want something really quick, then I use that first microwave tempering, which I said beforehand. So if I was doing a very small amount of chocolate, that's what I would use. But seeding all the Mycryo method is what I would use. So I use all of them in different ways. Now, since talking to you, this has come down a little bit in temperature, but I think it's going to be okay. See, that's what I told you. Don't go on, just control it. Don't speak to people, just do it. Right. I'm going to go in with my Mycryo. I like to push this along the sides, and that just helps that melt that down. Now, if you do find, because sometimes thermometers can be out in temperature, if you do find that it's very grainy, okay, so don't mistake it for air bubbles. You will definitely see when it's grainy, and that means the chocolate's be a little bit lower, okay, for the powder to melt. So all you need to do is just literally add a bit more heat to it. So I'd use the heat gun to bring back to it, and then you should be fine. Bring it back up just to melt. But be very careful not to go too high with it. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is bring it down to the working temperature of the chocolate. So dark chocolate, 31, 32 degrees. And then, like again, use my paper to test it. Always test it beforehand. Sometimes we even test it in machinery as well, just to make sure that it's working. Because what you don't want to do is start making lots of chocolate bars and then it all going wrong. Okay. Okay, so I'm just above the 31 degrees, which is good. So let me just take a little test. And we can see how it works. So the good thing is, guys, I know it's a lot to take in. We've done quite a few methods here, okay? But you can watch this again, come back to it, watch it, understand it a bit more. It's good to sort of watch it, a few times, and then understand, and then have a go, and then see which method you like to use as well, okay? Learning how to control it in your microwave, learning how to control it on a bain-marie, okay? If you've got one of these melters, that's really good. They come in different sizes as well, and so it's learning how that all works together. We're just going to test this one. See how this one sets. And I can already see it's starting to set nicely. I must say I do like the Mycryo method. Because I find that it is a little bit more fluid when you're working with it, and I find that it does last a little bit longer as a more fluid chocolate as well. But can you see now? Started to set. It's still wet here, but it started to set on the edge there. Okay, so I know that this is now ready, and I can use this in my products. So let's just do a little recap on the Mycryo. I didn't use my little sign. I need to use my little sign. Do that on the Mycryo sign. You can see Mycryo. So bring it up in between 40 and 45 degrees. Okay, we're going to reduce the temperature to around about 34, 35 degrees. Okay, then we're going to add our Mycryo. That's the same temperature if you're using white, dark milk, ruby, gold. Okay, bring it down to that temperature. Add your Mycryo. One thing I do say about the Mycryo, sometimes, well, the majority of the time I give it a little sieve. Just sieve it slightly and weigh it 5 grams, so 1%, because sometimes there's a little bit more larger particles. They might not necessarily melt down. So just give it a little sieve and use the sieve bits into there, and then bring it down to the working temperature. So dark chocolate always tempers a lot quicker by using the Mycryo because we're already bringing it down to 31, 32 degrees. If you're going to bring it to milk, it's 29, 30, so you've got to come down on the degree. That doesn't always happen very quickly. It can take a sort of temperature. Okay. So, guys, I hope that's been good for you, interesting for you. I hope you've learned something. I hope you can go back to people now and say you can use the microwave to temper chocolate. Okay, if they say you can't, tell them to come and see me, because I will say you can use the microwave. Bain-marie, you can use a bain-marie. You can use marble slab. Okay, I didn't show you the marble slab today because this is a lot cleaner and this tends to be the way that people do it now as well. Okay, if you're lucky enough to get a selling machine, great. You don't have to worry too much. But obviously, you have to worry about those temperatures. Okay, on that. All right. So I hope everything's been okay with the sound, with everything. I don't know what's happened, if there anything has happened, but I'm sure it's absolutely fine. Remember, next Friday, I've got a Valentine's one, so a special Valentine's one for another hour of some techniques with cocoa butters. We're going to make a piñata. We're going to do some lollies. We're going to do a simple ganache, but then the other girls here, so Julie and Claire, they're going to do some more classes or more demos, as I said. To do a ganache, and I won't explain too much about it, but you'll get the recipes and all that as well. So I hope that's okay with everybody. Sorry I've overrun by about 4 minutes, but I think that's pretty good considering 3 methods of tempering. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.